All right, everyone, welcome. Today we're going to build the perfect shoulder workout from the ground up. We're going to break down the most common exercises, rank them from worst to best, and then put together a killer routine based on pure science and mechanics. Let's get right into it. But first, a tough question. Is your current shoulder routine actually getting you the size and shape you want? Because a lot of popular exercises are surprisingly inefficient, meaning your effort might be going to waste and your progress is probably slower than it should be. We're here to fix that. So to understand how to train shoulders, you've got to know the muscle itself. It's not just one big lump, it's made of three separate heads. You've got the anterior or front delt, the medial or side delt, and the posterior or rear delt. To get that round 3D look, you absolutely have to train all three of them effectively. Okay, so how are we ranking these movements? We're using 4 key criteria. Does it create a strong mind-muscle connection? Does it give you a good pump? Is it safe? But most importantly, and this is our gold standard, does it create maximum tension on the target muscle through the full range of motion, especially in that fully stretched position? That first point is everything. Let's kick things off with the front of the shoulder, the anterior deltoid. We're going to start with the worst exercises and work our way up to the absolute best. And right away, this slide shows a super common mistake. We're putting the front raise with a pronated or palms down grip in the F tier, the absolute bottom. Why? Well, research shows this grip actually hits the medial delt more than the front. A simple switch to a neutral grip with palms facing each other immediately makes the exercise better by properly isolating that front delt. Up in D tier, we've got a controversial one, the behind the neck press. Now look, this move creates fantastic tension on the front delt. So what's the problem? It puts your shoulder joint in a very vulnerable, externally rotated position, which massively increases the risk of a rotator cuff injury. There are just so many safer, equally effective ways to train. This slide demonstrates a key principle in action. The dumbbell front raise, which we're putting in C tier, has one major flaw: gravity. At the bottom of the movement, there's practically zero tension on the muscle. The cable, our B tier pick, completely solves this. Because the force is pulling from the side, it keeps constant tension on your front delt through the entire rep. And here it is, the final breakdown for the front delts. The bottom line is this: while raises have their place, nothing beats our S-tier exercises, shoulder presses. Whether it's with a barbell, dumbbells, or a good machine, presses allow for heavy progressive overload, creating the mechanical tension that is the #1 driver of muscle growth. All right, let's move on to the medial or side delt. This is the muscle that gives your shoulders their width and contributes most to creating that coveted V-taper physique. The classic dumbbell lateral raise lands in B tier, but it has a huge flaw. As you'll see in a second, it loses tension in the most important part of the range of motion. However, by doing the exact same movement on an incline bench, an A tier version, we can fix that problem by changing the angle of resistance. And there's the flaw, plain and simple. At the bottom of a standard lateral raise, when the dumbbell is by your side, it's doing nothing. The muscle is essentially resting. That means you're missing out on tension in the most critical part of the movement, the fully stretched position. Which brings us to the final rankings. And it's no surprise that the S-tier champions are cable and machine lateral raises. Just like with the front delts, these movements solve the tension problem. A cable or a machine provides smooth, constant tension from the very bottom of the rep all the way to the top, ensuring no part of the movement is wasted. Moving on to the final head of the muscle, the posterior or rear delt. This is often the most neglected part of the shoulder, but developing it is crucial not just for shoulder health and stability, but for creating a truly three-dimensional look from the side and back. This slide shows how a tiny change can make a huge difference. For a bent-over dumbbell raise, using a neutral grip where your palms face each other is a D-tier choice. But by simply rotating your hands to a pronated, palms-down position, you upgrade it to a C-tier movement because you're putting the rear delt in a much better line of pull. Here we're comparing 2 popular options. Face pulls are a great movement. They land in B tier. It's a compound exercise that hits your traps and rear delts. However, for pure rear delt isolation and a superior stretch, the machine or cable reverse fly variations, our A and S tier picks, are simply unmatched. And here are the final rankings for the rear delts. The pattern continues. The absolute best S tier movements are the ones that use a cable or machine to create tension in that fully stretched position. Doing a single arm cable reverse fly allows you to get a deep stretch across your body that's just impossible to replicate with a dumbbell. All right, we've broken it all down. We've separated the best from the rest. Now, let's put it all together into the ultimate science-based shoulder workout plan. Here it is. We start with a heavy S-tier pressing movement for the front delts. Then we move to an S-tier cable lateral raise for the middle delts. After that, we target the rear delts with an S or A-tier reverse fly. And we finish off with an A-tier incline lateral raise to add some extra volume to that all-important middle head. Now, you might be looking at this routine and asking, why are there 2 exercises for the middle delts, but only 1 for the front and rear? That's an excellent question, and there's a very specific reason for it. Here's the logic behind the structure. Your front delts get a ton of work from pressing movements on chest day. Your rear delts get hit hard by rowing movements on back day, but the middle delt, it's pretty much isolated. It doesn't get a lot of help from other workouts, so it needs more direct volume on shoulder day to grow in proportion. And to make this plan immediately actionable, here are the parameters. For each of these exercises, you're going to aim for 3 to 4 hard sets in the 6 to 15 rep range. Focus on perfect form and take every set close to failure. So there you have it. You now have the blueprint and the best tools available. Think of yourself as a sculptor. Your shoulders are the marble, and these S-tier exercises are your chisel. The only question left is, what kind of masterpiece will you create?